Hi. Welcome. It's your girl Ashley, aka the Widow. And today we got an interesting story for you guys, but please don't forget to like, comment, and make sure you have your notification bell turned on. Because I know, you don't want to miss a thing. Still hoping that one day that might sound good. But anyway, today's story is all about Stanley. We know that the last time we saw Stanley in a Marvel project was actually in Endgame, and since then he passed away. But according to reports today, after yesterday, kind of getting this cryptic information that that Disney is no longer going to try to recast the Star Wars characters that people have loved and grown up because they thought that it just didn't work with Han Solo. So they feel like that moving forward that they're probably going to go the more the what they did with Luke, with using VFX and old scans of the way that Mark Hamill looked when he was younger, and then using splices of his voice when he was younger as well to help create the character. Mark Hamill was on set, kind of like as a stand-in for a lot of those shots and giving his contributions as much as he could. But here, so we kind of already seen like this digital version, and we know that Disney has scans of all the actors, especially we know that Marvel Studios, that WandaVision, the making of that show kind of like introduced us to and showed us how they do these scans of each of these actors. Well, that kind of brings us to what I want to talk about today. And here is the new report that they're going to be doing a very similar thing with Stan Lee. They have signed a deal with Stan Lee's family here and his estate that for the next 20 years they can use his likeness in different Marvel properties. I guess so they could still use him in a cameo sense. And this article that I'm going to read from you guys actually comes from the MCU Direct, and we're just going to go over a few things here in the article, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings about like using Stan Lee in this cameo way moving forward. Like let's just get into the article, and we'll give you my thoughts right after that. So Stan Lee was the godfather of the Marvel Universe. Lee and artist Jack Kirby were responsible for creating many of the heroes generating billions of dollars on the big screen today, including the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four. Even casual fans of those unfamiliar with Marvel know who Stan Lee is, and thanks in part to his famous cameos. I know, like, I remember, like, for me, just like my first introduction to Stan Lee is when I was 6 years old. I had my elder cousin, Vicky, who, I mean, she was really, she's like my pseudo cousin. Like anything that she wanted to do, I had to do. Like I got involved in theater because of her. I started reading comics because of her, like my sense of humor and like is kind of like off of her because like for me she was like my older sister growing up. And I remember like reading these Spider-Man comic books and then like her talking about like how Stan Lee was great because she's 3 years older than me, and so she would always like talk to me about Stan Lee and different comics. So that was my first introduction to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Ditko is when I was 6 years old and trying to grasp my little mind behind all of this. So let's continue with the article. It said to honor his service, and I'm going to do like quotes, like air quotes. You can't see me. To the Marvel Universe, Lee made cameos, which we know, and in appearances in almost every major Marvel film and series over the years, and at least until his passing in 2018. Big screen flybys became an iconic feature for the MCU, and sadly, his last opportunity, we know, came in 2019's Avengers Endgame, a fitting point for his final cameo. And we know that that was the culmination of the Infinity Saga. It wrapped up this epic phase and ride that we had been on for, the past 10 years plus at this point. But it is sad to know that that he will not be moving forward in this new phase. I remember him not being in Spider-Man Far From Home and thinking, oh, wow. And then we got that like cool, like Stan Lee cameo, like look-alike cameo in No Way Home, which was really cool because it was like observing, expectations, like the similarities of a character and kind of like making you like jump and shock and do your a double take. And I remember also after us watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I was thinking, you know what would be really cool if they would, incorporate Bruce Campbell, who's like this quirky, fun guy, moving forward, that could always kind of like have these small cameos in the MCU. I know it's not Stan Lee, but it's someone who is very, animated and has this great personality. And I thought that would be a cool idea. But what do we find out? We'll find out what more than likely is going to happen as we continue throughout this article. It said in the years since then, Marvel has remained cautious about how it uses Stan Lee's likeness after his passing. The company even shut down plans for him to appear in The Simpsons, Short the Good, The Bart, and The Loki, due to policy of leaving behind his cameos after his death. But how Marvel says Lee's likeness may be about to change, thanks to a new deal reached by the studio. Stan Lee's likeness is to return to Marvel, guys. So the Hollywood Reporter exclusively revealed that Marvel Studios inked a 20-year deal with Stan Lee Universe to use the likeness and name of the comic creator in movies, TV, Disney theme parks, merchandise, and other experiences. Marvel Studios, thanks to the deal, will now have the right to use Lee's name, likeness, and signature on big and small screens on top of images, footages, audio recordings related to him. Disney theme parks, cruise lines, park merchandises will now be able to use his name, voice, likeness, and signature. According to the original report, insiders indicated that the arrangement doesn't necessarily set the stage for Stan Lee's famous cameos to return to the Marvel movies, at least in the traditional sense. Stan Lee's universe was formed by Genius Brands International and POW Entertainment in 2020 for the writer's non-Marvel creations. Although they also held ownership of his likeness and name. Genius Brand CEO Andy Hayward called the arrangement a broad deal, explaining that it will ensure Lee can live on through digital technology and archival footage and other forms. Okay, so there's that. Hayward went on to explain that the decision with regarding to his likeness will be welcomed if it's handled with taste and class. And here's another direct quote from Hayward. It says, the audience revered Stan, and it's done with taste and class and respectful of who he was. It will be welcome. He's a beloved personality, and long after you and I are gone, he will remain the essence of Marvel. Very true. And I think that they're going to be, I don't see like Disney using him in some way that makes Stan Lee look bad or makes the products that maybe he's representing, or controversial. I think that it will always be in like this wholesome, like, happy, positive way, especially what Stan Lee is. And Disney is all about happy, cheerful things, even though sometimes they do all their shadiness in the dark, right? But like the way that they're presented, to families and in the market is a very, happy, cheerful way about it. So I don't, unless it's like something that, Stan Lee might be against that Disney represents in the future, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of conflict how they use him. We might not get it in a cameo traditional sense. It might be like recycled footage that maybe things that he had done before, that if they could place that and make it feel natural in a film, it might be something like that. And it might be maybe full-on cameos, as long as they feel that it respects his legacy and doesn't tarnish his image in any way. It says, how will Marvel continue using Stan Lee's likeness? The Simpsons at one point considered creating a Stan Lee cameo for its Loki-centric short several years after his death, using old audio clips. However, the plans were eventually shut down after Marvel Studios revealed its new policy that the creator won't be making cameos anymore now that he's passed away. So what exactly is this deal for? So Marvel Studios, according to this here, has said that now that he has passed, he will not be making any cameos in any films or television shows. And it says Stan Lee previously made several cameos in the Netflix Defender saga through images placed in the background of shots on posters and other pictures, either dressed as a lawyer or an NYPD officer. Perhaps Marvel Studio intends to similarly include pictures-based cameos in future projects. Although it should be noted that all of those in the Netflix series predated his death, although Lee did recently appear on the Sony side of Marvel on a magazine cover in the Venom Let There Be Carnage. Through its policy to avoid cameos from Stan Lee after his commitment to honor the creator's legacy in a respectable way, who knows how Marvel and Disney now intend to use his likeness, but theme parks look to have been a significant element of the deal. Marvel Studios used Stan Lee's voice in a trailer released in 2021 to showcase its upcoming film slate and highlight its return to the big screen after a break due to the pandemic. This may offer some indication that the company is open to using Lee's voice in marketing and other capacities, maybe even at the parks themselves. So I could see, like, like in the Venom, we might get like an image of him, but like to physically see him from whatever that we're saying, like in a live action form moving forward, will probably not be, it won't be like it, that will be the case. It'll be photos, it might be voice clips. And I think the big thing is, like, in these Disney theme parks, they're really going to lean heavy on Stan Lee, and because they have Adventure Campus, and you gotta have Stan Lee incorporated there. So I get that possibly, and from what we're hearing in this article, that the theme parks are going to be the driving force and probably get the bulk of those Stan Lee images. One way to use his likeness could be to deliver the Stan Lee biopic many have been clamoring for. So maybe we'll get a Stan Lee biopic. Perhaps Marvel Studios could be the one to finally tell Stan Lee's story on the big screen in its first non-MCU production. After all, who would be better to tell the story of Marvel than Marvel itself? So that is the article. Let me know down below your thoughts and opinions on this. At first, like, because I hadn't read the article until we kind of like got into it here, I was like, this is a little weird, a little bit weird. Because I get, like, sometimes in some cases, if an artist might die while you're completing work, or if you have to end a character's arc. So when I thought, oh no, they're going to bring him back in this cameo sense, and it's going to be in all the Marvel films moving forward in these cameos, I think that would be in bad taste. And so I'm glad, based off the things that we've heard here, that that's not an option. That's not what they're doing here. According to this article and what it sounds like to me, that mainly the focus here is going to be heavily on product endorsements, things for the parks and merchandising, things like that. We might see some visual clips moving forward of him in that cameo sense in the MCU. Like, we might always get an image of him in some way in these films, but like to see him physically and then them use his voice and like have stand-in actors kind of, and then the VFX come in and put him in those scenes. I'm glad that that's not the case. Like I said, let me know your thoughts. Thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone is happy and healthy. Until next time, I'm your girl Ashley, aka ThaWidow, and I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful day. See you next time.